we go. All right, so I got Kevin Farrell on the call today. Kevin, if you just want to introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you used to do, why you came to Symmetry.
Oh, my name is Kevin Farrell. I'm in Northbrook, Illinois, agency owner now. I came from a financial background, worked at Northern Trust for like 30 plus years, and then the dreaded you're not needed anymore because you're making too much money and you're too old. So that was the hook for me. And then I started looking for something, and I kept seeing the ads for Symmetry, and I did an interview with Jim Russman, and he and I talked for a long time, and I took a leap of faith with him and the company, and I'm glad I did.
Did you leave your last job to come here, or were you already like done with your?
No, I was let go. My position was eliminated for a $30,000 a year person to come in and maybe do my job, which I've been doing for 31 years. So it was
Too much.
Yeah. So one of those banking decisions. So if you're over 55 in the banking industry, you usually have a bullseye on your back. And if you're a senior vice president like myself, you definitely have a bullseye. So I lasted probably about 5 more years than usually people last, but I was on a trading desk, so that's why.
There you go. And what's the transition been like from doing that to now insurance?
Well, it was just kind of a learning curve as how you're talking to mom and pop instead of CFOs and financial people that know their lingo right away. And you can't be BSing them. They know their stuff. You can't sit there and say something and maybe know it. They know their stuff. So when I first started here, you don't know everything when you start out, but you have people that'll get on your calls and help you. So that's the difference here. For my other job, you're solo and you better know your stuff. This one, if I have an issue, I can still call Jim Russman. I can call you. I can call whoever that might know something or can pull something up on the fly for me. And that's kind of a cool concept because people like seeing that too, that you're verifying it or you're showing it.
Yeah, the edification of a product or yourself. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just hit something funny. You're not having to explain all that lingo to mom and pops over here. You got people in Kentucky that it's a joke over here, but you speak like cousinese. You got a real like a lot of slang and stuff like that. There's a lot of people who take advantage of things like that. Do you think anyone in Symmetry would ever do anything like that?
No, that within our organization, definitely not. I mean, we are definitely ones that, preach that. You preach good business and you preach doing the right thing when no one's looking. I've had several people that wanted to do policies, and my last one was a 28-year-old kid. He didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. He wanted to get this policy. He's like, well, I don't have any money in my account now, but I could do it next month. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to do it because I can feel you're not going to be able to do it. And maybe 3 months down the road, you're going to be like, oops. So we're
Charge back
a couple months because I don't want to have a chargeback, and I don't want that guy to get all of a sudden have that on his record that he can't make payments. So it's just kind of doing the right thing when no one's looking.
There's a lot of good culture here. What was pay like at your last career?
Very high. I was well compensated with 6 figures plus bonus. So,
and was that all salary stuff?
Later part of my career, yeah, because they changed the bonus structure, but it usually was salary, and then like 80% was bonus, and then it kind of switched around. So I had a nice salary.
And what's it like making a transition from something like that to straight commission?
Well, you got to work. You take a day off, you don't get that money. If I take a day off on the other job, it's my vacation day. So it's a tit for tat. You don't work, okay, you don't have to, but you don't get paid. So you have to make sure that you have residual income coming in. So I'm lucky enough right now that I have a great team underneath me. So I have residual income coming in right now.
Yeah, I was about to say now you can afford to take some of those vacation days because it's not just all on you, and that's kind of the important.
Yeah, it's not killer for me, but it's also I don't like the last 2 weeks have been tough for me because I've had to do a lot of agency owner stuff and do a lot of administrative stuff. So I'm now readjusting how I'm doing this. And I have a dialer for me now. So because that helps me
There you
book
go.
appointments. I'm like, just give me 5 or 6 appointments and I'll do my other dialing and I'll get my 15 to 20 appointments. So that's what I asked the dialer to do. Give me anywhere from 5 to 7 appointments. That's pretty easy to book. And then I will keep booking. And so that's helping me keep my inventory up. But, so that's what I want
There's
to
a lot of flexibility here. You can kind of do whatever you want, but it's always nice being able to sub that $10 an hour workout so you can focus on the $100 plus an hour stuff.
Yeah, so I went to California with my wife for the first time when she was doing some business out there, just kind of hang out with her because she's like, do you want to come? And I'm like, sure. I picked up my computer and I worked in the hotel room and in the business center during the day when she worked. And then at night, when she came home, she'd have to sit in a hotel room and we went out to dinner and on the California coast and ate in some great places that she's always wanted to. And so it was a win-win for both of us. She got to do some stuff at the end of the night. It wasn't boring. We weren't separated for a week. We got to sit there and hang. And I was able to run business while I was out there. The week after that, 2 weeks later, then I'm at AO conference. I'm running business in my hotel room the day before and the day as I'm leaving. I'm actually doing an appointment in the airport. So it's wherever you can get that internet and you get hooked up, you do it. And then I was moving my son the following week. I've been traveling a lot. I just need to calm it down.
This past month's been like hectic for you.
Yeah, so I was moving my son into Fort Collins, and 3 weeks ago I was moving my daughter. So I'm like, but I'm able to run appointments in between there. I just know where I've got to be and the time frame. So that's the difference. I'm still working even when I'm on vacation. I can do that.
How long did it take you to hit agency owner since you started with Symmetry?
1 year. So I bought my first leads on June 5th and I made AO in June. They officially announced it at the end of June, but I made it after May's numbers. But it finally, the official, you got it, was in June. So basically 1 year.
1 year?
Yeah, I had a lot of help with Jim Russman, really was key and instrumental in that, copying his lead and, helping with the recruiting and helping me out with that. So it's been a great run.
And how has recruiting been going for, why do you try to follow Jim so much in that aspect? Why are you trying to duplicate with what he's doing?
Well, if you look at him, he is a regional director in a year and three months. He broke out 2 AOs. So that's regional director. You get 1 AO, your agency director. He jumped up like that because he had Alex Jackson and Karen Reed. Now he's got me. If he jumps up and he's looking to build another 2. And I'm looking in my organization. I have 2 people I've kind of looked at and said, hey, they've got people under them right now. We can recruit, and he's helped develop our recruiting mechanism through one of the girls on my team, her husband. So, and you're using it right now to build.
Yeah, I love it.
So we're doing that and we're getting tons of responses. I have an interview after this, our final interview. I just hired someone last week. We've hired 3 other people. So in the regards of, we've only been doing this, 2-3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
We've added 3 people to my organization already. So one was a licensed agent, which is awesome. So
yeah, our ads work pretty good. I know I've been managing all that stuff. I'm pretty stoked about all that. How do you think Symmetry is going to compare to your last place in like another few years, like 5 years down the road?
I think I will be higher. I think I'm already ahead. Okay, I'm not making as much money, but my quality of life is 10 times better. So I traded currencies for 30 years. So I was up at 4:30 in the morning every day. I was talking to London and trading. So, when people are like, oh, I got to get up at 7:30, I'm like, I've already been working 3 hours. I'm on the train, I'm talking to London, I'm doing stuff, I'm like, first thing I wake up, I go into the bathroom and I'm like hitting my phone and I'm looking to see what they need to do or what I've got to do as I'm in it before I hit the shower. Now I got to start doing this. What do I have to do for this client? And then I get home at 7 o'clock at night, and then I got to go walk the dog. And I'm like, I'm not sitting down to like 8:30 or 9. It's a long day.
You don't even have time to enjoy your money that you made.
And the whole thing is you got a month of vacation, but a month, that's it. I can take any time I want and go on vacation. and still work. If we go to Mexico, I'll be working down there. If we go to California, I can work. So I can combine it. So I can pay for my trips as I'm out there, pick 2 or 3 times. So quality of life, I'm waking up, I'm coming downstairs to my office, my daughter moved out. I created her room into an office, and I don't have to be up at 4:30.
First thing you're seeing in the morning is some random deposit.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just checked it again. I'm like, I'm getting checks every single day, residual income from my great team.
As much as you're putting into recruiting, like the word of the year for Symmetry is invest. I think you're a great example of that. I was super happy when you and Mark at AO, like with what you're building right now, 5 years down the road, it's going to exceed what you had before, and your quality of life's only going to get, if not better.
Well, I watched what Jim's done. So he's broken out 2 AOs, then he grabbed me and he broke me out. So but he's recruiting again. So now he's got this system that we have. So we're kind of ahead of the game with him, because if we break out an AO, we'll already be adding more people. So there's a possibility of another AO in the works,
and ultimately you getting up higher is just going to push him to it, because he needs an agency director or an RAD. It all goes with why he's building wide.
Well, if you get people at that level, then you're giving him the ability to make his money for that next level. So yeah, and I think we're close with, I'm getting 2 people where we're trying to get them to have their 4 people, 5 people underneath them to get that base going, so they can start really get it going, and then let them recruit underneath them. So Danny Young kind of said it, you start recruiting right away. So I've got to kind of figure that out. That's the next thing I'm figuring out, is how everybody can get on this train, and figure a cost structure and stuff like that. So that's like that's the one thing about being an agency owner. You got a lot more administrative stuff to figure out, and you can't just give it to somebody because you're learning it right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So I can't sit there and say, I've got to teach this person, because there's still stuff that they're kind of behind the curve. So we're still not able to do it. So Jim's still running some stuff. Melissa is still running some stuff for AOs. So until we get the full ability to do it all, because they're by leaps and bounds growing so fast, SFG, they're a little bit behind. So that's where, I'm still leaning heavily on Jim, and I'm going to lean heavily on Jim through the whole thing. I have no problem. I still talk to Jim on calls. I call him in on calls. I have no problem doing that whatsoever.
Being coachable and open to all that stuff is vital to your success here. The moment you think you got it all, you're going to start losing.
Well, what they said is this is the hardest time right now, because you're at the point where you can't. This is where a lot of AOs will just sit back, I'm making money.
Yeah, time to stop writing my own business.
Yeah, no, I'm not like that. I'm mad that I'm not writing business. It's taking up too much time, so I've got to factor that in. I've got to get that time.
You're trying to imitate the exact same thing Jim Russman is doing, because it's so replicatable.
I want to be where he is in 3 years. I want to retire my wife. She has her own design firm that she can work on one project. She doesn't need to have 4 or 5. Doesn't have to travel around the country if she doesn't want to, but she likes doing it. So she wants to get it down to 1. That's my goal in 3 years, that she is retired. If I can do it sooner, that's great, but that is where I got it. Yeah. So, and then residual income. That's the thing that you have to remember. I signed a contract, so my family has residual income for the rest of their life. So as I get AOs underneath me, then they get AOs and they get AOs. The Christmas tree keeps going like this, and they keep getting it.
Man, you're at the tippy top, the little star ornament.
So
they come right up to you.
So I have to kind of investigate that a little more. I don't know if they have to have an insurance license, or something happens to me, they have X amount of time to get their insurance license.
Symmetry will give them 180 days, like half a year. And Symmetry helps with that, and that's why I love them.
Yeah, so my wife can do that in a heartbeat. She's got a real estate license. So she's like, I could do that in a heartbeat. Do I need to do it right now? I'm like, well, let's not put me in the ground first. I go, let's hold off. She started laughing. And then I put my son as the contingency. So if something happened, he would do that. And in my will is that you are to split it between your other 2 siblings and my wife's siblings. So there's 5 of them. So you get a monthly check, you divvy it up. It's real simple. You cut it up 5 ways. That way there's no.
And those checks are only going to keep getting bigger the more you invest in your own business. That's what I love about it, the multiplication factor.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the residual income, because we were just talking about that. She's like, oh, well, my social security just came in, we got this, and you should be maxed out from your other job and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I haven't gotten the letter. I'm like going, yeah, it's good. So we need to have some other residual income on the side. I go, well, that's exactly what we're building right now. I go, we do have that. I go, but I want to keep it going, so I want to keep going. I want to be 120. So
You're pretty much just starting your real journey here.
Yeah, Jim's at 3.5 years. He's at 115. I just missed 100 because of the issue paid, because we had the numbers high, but we didn't get our issue paid of 45. We got 40, but we had 61. So the residual income for next month could be 25, just starting right out. Thank you. And then we have numbers right now. So I could start my run again, but
rollover will be nice.
Yeah, it's hard to sit there. You want people to do this, but you also don't want to be like, hey, hurry up and get it. So I get my.
You don't want to be a drill sergeant. Yeah.
No, you don't want to be a jerk, because you want people to work and go for it. And my goal is to make sure that they hit all their promotions. So I ride on them to get the promotion.
If everyone's hitting their promotions under you, you're doing your job and you're hitting your promotions as well. So
right. So I've got 3 people. I got to give them their promotions this month, and they're hitting it. And that's what I love. A couple people hit their first month. So I'm trying to get everybody off to keep going. I want to get them all up to about 80, 85, as much as possible.
And get them building. No,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kevin, just before we get off here, man, appreciate you helping me. If you had to choose like your most important part for like any new person, or like, what do you think the most important aspect of this business is, just coming in, or even for people who have been here a little bit, what do you think the most important for you is?
Well, I would sit there and I would reach out to your mentor and looking at people that in the organization are doing it consistently, and copy them. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? What are they doing right? What are they doing incorrect? Melissa Gonzalez, you had on. I talked to her about smart ULs. I had her come on to my calls and teach everybody, and everybody's selling it. That's one of my biggest things is smart ULs in my group.
Phenomenal. I love Alyssa to death. She's awesome.
I just sold it this morning to a couple. Like I talked to you earlier, I've got a Thursday. We're going to sit there and write 2 apps for them, because it's a younger couple. It's a thing to pay off a mortgage. Excuse me. So, that aspect of, how she's doing so well. And then have people on your calls. Don't have an ego. I went 0 for 23 until Jim's like, are you done? You won't need some help? Instead of trying to think you can do it.
Yep.
I did it. And then next thing you know, I'm having $18,000, $19,000 months, so I still use it. I still call them, so it's not something you should, if you have an ego in here, get rid of it. You have to be work ethic. You make sure you're doing your dials and you're working, the system will do it. Be coachable. Have anybody gives you criticism or constructive criticism, listen, because they're not being a jerk. They're trying to help you. And then a willingness to just do whatever it takes. What do I got to do? Those 3 things are what I look for when I recruit.
Absolutely, man. Well, Kevin, I appreciate you hopping on here with me. We'll go ahead and stop this.